Darlington, we're proud to wear purple and white.
Because Tigers strive for greatness.
In the classroom and on the field.
We know that we can do anything, be anything,
achieve anything.
We're part of a program that is 100% dedicated to nourishing our minds and our bodies.
As teammates, we push each other further than we ever thought we could go.
Because every single one of us has something to contribute.
We practice hard so that when we compete, we can leave it all out on the field.
With each win, we build confidence.
With each loss is a lesson.
Our coaches teach us more than technique.
They prepare us to be good teammates,
friends, and people.
We face adversity together
and push through to reach our goals.
We may struggle,
but we will never give up.
Because today,
tomorrow, forever.
We're Darlington Tigers.
My name is Ryan Somerville. I am the sales manager for Business Water Solutions. We do water purification coolers as well as ice machines for any size business. We're on campus right now at Darlington School. Super happy to be here. They're one of our biggest customers. I myself played sports here. Our two founders played sports here. It was absolutely our pleasure to be a sponsor for Darlington Athletics. I think one thing that really sets us apart is our water purification. There's 13 stages. The reverse osmosis part of it has been a huge part of our success, along with our 24-hour guarantee for service calls. So when a customer does call us, we're guaranteed within 24 hours. We were able to provide a touchless water system to make it more COVID-friendly in terms of germs and touching the water system. One thing I always say is we're not selling a product, we're selling our service. That's what we really push for every single day, is to have a customer service experience like they've never had before.
Shop for your next car, truck, or SUV at Riverside Auto Group. Check out riversideautogroup.com today to browse their selection, or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet Buick GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, and the all-new Riverside Buick GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group. Visit riversideautogroup.com.
At Rome Orthopedic Center, we salute students, freshmen and seniors, athletes and artists, first stringers and choral singers, band majors and game changers. We hope you never need orthopedic care, but if you do, choose the only practice in the Rome area solely dedicated to the orthopedic needs of the students and families in our community. Rome Orthopedic Center. To make an appointment, call 706-292-00.
It's time for the Coach Groves Show, where we sit down with the head coach of the Darlington Tigers football team and talk about all things Darlington School football. Now we go live to Matt Davis and Ian Griffin, who are standing by with Coach Wayne Groves.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coach Groves Show, where we talk Darlington football with the head Tiger himself, Wayne Groves. It's Region Play Week, Matt. It's a big week, but we're going to talk about last week's game to kick things off.
Absolutely. Of course, we got the coach here with us. And first of all, Coach, how's your week going, man?
It's been really good. We had a great film session on Saturday, which really started this week, and then introduced a game plan with the kids on Monday. We had good practice on Monday, better practice today. and an excellent practice on Tuesday. So we're trending in the right direction. We're working on some things that we need to kind of shore up going into region play, and I think we'll be ready to play a good ball game this Friday.
Well, we're going to get into that in just a little bit and talk about the matchup in great detail. But first things first, let's rewind and talk about last week's game a little bit, Coach. It was a back-and-forth battle up at Northwest Whitfield. Came up a little bit short in the end result, but your guys continued to fight until the very end, and I know you got to be proud of the effort. So give us your thoughts on last week's game.
Well, the Darlington Tigers, the kids are always going to play hard, and they're going to play for 4 quarters. They're going to play hard for 48 minutes. We definitely did that. We knew this was going to be a very tough ball game. We have a lot of respect for Northwest Whitfield. They're been a year in, year out playoff team in 4A, and so we knew that'd be a tough task, with them not playing many kids both ways and us having to do that, and had our opportunities to win the ball game. And, we just came up a little bit short. About 3 plays in that game kind of determined that. They had a tip ball on a screen for us and returned it for a pick 6, and that was really the turning point, in the ball game that kind of swung it to their favor. And then, we're down inside the red zone 3 times and we only get 3 points out of it. So we got to capitalize in those situations. And, we're still our team is still a young team, and it's a new offensive defensive system. We're still figuring out, what we got to get better on. We're still figuring out, what our identity is on offense and defense and what our kids can really do well. And so we felt like we've done that in the first 4 games, and we'll be ready for Dade County with a good plan. And
Coach, that defensive front for Northwest Whitfield, especially, we kept calling Miles May's name. He was the one who made that play. How do you feel like y'all held up against what seemed to be a really talented defensive front?
Well, we moved the ball up and down the field on them. We had more yards than they did when it came down to it in the stats. And, we just got the ball down inside the 10 and we bogged down and couldn't punch it in. And, that was kind of the difference.
No doubt, Coach. And, of course, this past weekend, our honeymoon baker asking on the cake player of the game was Jamarian Floyd. Of course, there were a lot of guys in the running because, again, it was a great team effort by everybody involved. But he had a solid game on both sides of the ball. Of course, had a 20-yard run for a touchdown that really, helped keep guys in the game. And he brings a lot to the table every single week. So what can you say about his performance last week?
Well, Demarion, he plays a tons of snaps for us. He's running the ball. He's on special teams. He's catching the ball out of the backfield. And then he's playing as many snaps as he can handle at corner, playing DB. But Demarion, I think he ended up, 67 yards and a touchdown in the ball game. And, so, what has pleased me about Demarion is he's really matured as the season has went on. He's starting to practice really well. And I thought he had his best week of practice last week. So, pretty cool that you guys are giving the player of the game. But, we always talk about earning it Monday through Thursday. And he really practiced really hard and had some good reps at practice on Monday through Thursday. So I'm glad to see he had some success on Friday.
Coach, before the game, you told us this team liked to pass a lot. Matt and I both thought the secondary tackle, really, they kept everybody in front of them, did a really good job. So talk about the performance of your secondary as a whole last week.
Well, one of our goals is always we want to give up no big plays. We consider a big play a 25-yard play or more, and we didn't give up a big play against Northwest. We always tell kids, hey, a hitch is not going to beat you, especially early in the game. Let's make sure we stay over the top, have great eye discipline, don't let anybody behind you, and we can always rally to the ball on the underneath throws. And so we did a good job of that. And so you don't want to get teams get big plays on you and get momentum. And so we make teams, drive it down the field and have to put together a drive and operate it, I guess you would say. And so that's what we want, no easy plays.
Coach, I'm curious, of course, now you guys have played 4 games, your entire non-region schedule, and I wanted to know, when you look from game 1 to game 4 up to this point, as you get ready to go into region play, are there any guys that you feel like have advanced their play even, a little bit in terms of progress, maybe even faster than you expected they would going into the season?
Well, all of our guys have made great strides. If you watched us from the scrimmage game all the way until last week's game, game 4, then you know that our kids are playing with better technique. You can tell they're more confident in the offense and defense. There's less pre-snap penalties and formation-type penalties that we had some issues with earlier. The kids are tackling better, and we're getting off blocks better on defense. So, no one specific kid. I mean, every one of our kids are getting better with all of those things. So,
you mentioned the pick 6, and we're sitting up in the booth, and I was like, man, it feels like the Tigers should be up by 3 touchdowns at this point in the game. And then you have a play like that where a kid he just made an athletic play. How do you coach your guys to shake that off and move on to the next play and keep fighting? Because they to that point, it was all Tigers.
Well, it's just a mentality that we try to instill in them. And if the Darlington Tigers were sitting here in the booth with us right now, and I asked them, I said, "What's the most important play?" They're all going to say, "The next one, coach, the next one." And so that's something we preach all the time. You've got to have a short conscience in this game, if you will. So big play happens. Our mentality wants to be like, "Well, come back. You try to do it to me again because you're going to have a tough time doing it again." So next play is always the most important.
And, Coach, on that note, obviously we talked earlier, not the results you guys were looking for, but a lot of positives in last week's game, and I know that's got to leave the Tigers hungry to get back out there and, and play another game. So what has the tone been like at practice this week?
It's been really upbeat. We've had good sessions in the weight room. We've had good walkthrough sessions. We've had good film. And like I said, we had 3 good practices so far, and we'll have our 4th practice tomorrow morning at 5:45 a.m., But it's been really good. The kids are excited. Back at home this week, first region game. They'll be excited to have the student section, the bleacher creatures, and the band there, and all the fans. So they're excited.
Absolutely, and of course, just to kind of review the season. I mean, you guys opened up with the first couple of games at home, and then you had a road game, then a bye week, and then another road game. So it's been a few weeks since you've had the opportunity to play at Chris Hunter Stadium. And so it's going to be super exciting, especially when you consider the fact, and we'll get more into this a little bit later, but Dade County is one of those places, there's not really an easy way to get over there. So it's much better to have this particular game played at home as opposed to going on the road. It's a pretty long road trip.
Yeah, you definitely want to. Anytime we can play at Chris Hunter, we want to do that. And anytime we can stay away from driving to Dade County, we want to do that too. I used to remember going up there in high school, and I thought, going down those mountains, I was like, if the brakes went out on this bus, we're in trouble big time. So, yeah, that's a weird navigating alley to get there.
It is. As a matter of fact, I was broadcasting a basketball game there a year or so ago, and it started snowing during the game. There's a little bit in the forecast, but nobody thought anything was going to happen. And so I had driven over the mountain to get there to go to the game, but on the way back, we had to drive all the way back to Chattanooga so we could get on the interstate and come back. So it's kind of an interesting situation, no doubt about it. Well, we're glad to have you with us. This is the Week 5 edition, believe it or not, of the Coach Grove Show here on the WLAQ YouTube channel and also Facebook Live. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, it's I just realized we looked over something. So we're going to do 2 things coming up in the next segment. We're going to talk about the black shirt players from this past week, and then we're also going to talk about the Getting to Know Coach segment of the show. So that's all coming up right here next on the Coach Grove Show. Glad to have you with us today, everybody.
Shop for your next car, truck, or SUV at Riverside Auto Group. Check out riversideautogroup.com today to browse their selection or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet Buick GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, and the all-new Riverside Buick GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group. Visit riversideautogroup.com.
All right, we welcome you back to the Coach Grove Show here on the WLAQ YouTube channel and our Facebook Live feed. We've got Coach Groves with us. And to start this segment off, before we get into the Getting to Know Coach Groves segment of the week, we need to review and go back and talk about the black shirt recipients from this week. Coach, tell us about that.
All right, so our Black Shirt Awards, remember that's we give out 5 of them every week, and that's voted on the coaches on our Sunday morning meetings. And so we give them not only to kids that always have their name in the newspaper, even though sometimes it works out that way, but we give it to kids that are maybe under the radar, under the spotlight, that are playing their position the very best and playing it like they're coached to within the scheme of our offense and defense. So this week's offensive black shirt, it went to Demarion Floyd. I know he had 67 yards rushing and a touchdown, but I just thought he just practiced so well last week. And so we were very proud of that. He ran the ball very well. And so, and then in the ball game, they brought some blitzes sometimes into some of our runs, and we didn't quite pick it up quite right, and Demarion made something out of nothing quite a few times. So we just thought that Demarion earned that black shirt for this week on offense.
You know what we need, Ian? I was just thinking about this, what an opportunity it would be. We need a picture of Demarion with his Honeymoon Bakery Award and the black shirt.
And the black shirt, yeah.
That would be pretty
Post
cool.
that.
Flash up on the screen.
Yeah, we do that.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and continue with the other side of the ball.
On defense, and this guy's been a very consistent player all year long, but he's continued to get better. But he ended up having a lot of production and played his position really well, and that's Noah Duggan. He ended up having 13 tackles on the night and really did a great job at linebacker. Noah's a junior linebacker, number 23. So Noah Duggan was the defensive.
And I noticed when you sent the defensive stats over, he's your leading tackler on the year by a fairly decent margin.
Yeah, that he plays that Sam linebacker, which is one of the most important parts of our defense. He's got a real lot of tough jobs. He's got to be great in run fits and run downs. He's got a pivotal spot playing that outside linebacker in his pass drops. We ask him to do a lot as far as blitzing off the edge. Sometimes he walks up and he's going to play on the tight end and have to be physical in that aspect. So that's in my defense, that's kind of a pivotal part, and he's done a really good job playing that this year.
All right, Coach, we're going to shift gears a little bit and move on to the Getting to Know Coach question of the week. And this week should be a fun one. I know we'll have some input into this one all around the room. But who were your favorite athletes growing up, Coach?
Before we get to that, I want to make sure I recognize these other kids.
Oh, please. I'm sorry.
I got my special teams black shirt. Okay. So we got a sophomore kicker. He's from Nigeria. His name's Dade Salas. Okay. So Hendrix Jones had a little patella tendonitis in his knee and couldn't kick off. And so Ade went in there, and some of those deep, high kicks on kickoffs that were really good. He provided that for us. And so we gave the special teams black shirt to Ade. So he's going to be a phenomenal kicker. He's getting stronger in the weight room, and he's got already a strong leg. With a little more coaching, he's going to do really well as a special teams threat. On Scout O, sophomore wide receiver, Jace Donaldson. He's got that Donaldson name. That's the Ray Donaldson family. We had a player at Rome, Xavier Donaldson, X-Man. That's his lineage there. And so Jace is doing a fantastic job. And I think if he keeps on working, he may find a little more playing time on Friday. But he practiced really well as far as running routes and simulating Hudson Gray, the number 2 receiver from Northwest. It was really good. And, we held him to 2 catches and 7 yards, and Jace kind of helped simulate that guy last week, so he got the Scout O. And then Ty Wood, a freshman linebacker. Ty Wood got the Scout D. He's in there every time. I've got to make him get out and let other guys get reps, and so Ty did a great job playing linebacker.
And I'm told otherwise known as Boomstick. I met his parents at Buc-ee's a few weeks ago and said that, and I asked Coach about this earlier. He couldn't tell me which coach did it, but somebody nicknamed him that from the scrimmage game just ahead of the season. So we're waiting on the right moment in the game to be able to break that out.
And I think we've decided that we should have a high school football scoreboard show live from Buc-ee's, because everyone stops there. Like you see every fan base, every band, groups of cheerleaders, everybody stops there on the way back. So
it's become quite a tradition when you got to go up that direction, no doubt about it. Well, let's see. Have we completed the black shirt? I'm sorry.
We got the black shirt
there, man. My bad. I got a little excited there because I think this is going to be a fun question today. It's going to get a lot of conversation going, no doubt about it. So with that said, we will now move on to the Getting to Know Coach question of the week, which is, Coach, who were your favorite athletes when you were growing up?
Well, we hadn't talked about this yet, but I know me and Ian before the show were talking about just how great in the mid '80s to the mid '90s of how great of a sports era we grew up in. And so obviously I'm still a sports fan now, but I just feel like there was just such a golden era of sports for being a kid, for watching football, basketball, and baseball, which I played all 3 in high school. And so whatever sport was at the time, that was my favorite. So I dove into it, playing it, and also I watched it as much as I possibly could. So, favorite athletes growing up, if we're going to go football first. Of course, I had Tecmo Bowl, and, you always try to pick your favorite guys. And so obviously there's, the Bears defense back then was awesome. And so Mike Singletary, I was a linebacker, so I loved to watch Mike Singletary in that Bears defense. So he was kind of one of my favorite athletes growing up. Christian Okoye, if y'all remember Christian Okoye, that played for the Chiefs, just a huge, like 6'3", 250 running back that ran a 4.4 40. And so he was always fun to watch because he was just running over people. And so he was kind of one of my favorites. And then I think everybody likes Barry Sanders, and you watch Joe Montana and Jerry Rice, and some of those guys in football growing up were all guys, you kind of wanted to be like in the backyard. Basketball, obviously Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, those guys were just head and shoulders above everybody else at the time. So those are my favorites. I had those posters on my wall. And then, baseball, I had Greg Maddux. I had Bo Jackson poster in my wall growing up. And then, watching baseball, I always tried to play. When I played, I wanted to emulate Pete Rose. I just thought the way he dove and the way he played the game, and when he got walked, he sprinted to first base, and he was known as kind of Charlie Hustle. And I always just loved that mentality for baseball players. And so those are kind of some of the guys I looked up to growing up.
All right, we're going to ask the hosts here. What about you, Ian?
Oh, man. I mean, you nailed a lot of them. I was a diehard John Elway fan. I like to suffer, so I watched him lose all those Super Bowls in the 80s and just broke my heart. But I loved those Broncos teams. LT and was it Carl Banks? Was he the other linebacker for those New York Giants teams? Man, they were nasty. They were fun to watch. The Bears, I mean, they did the Super Bowl shuffle, so how could you not love the Bears? And Walter Payton was fun to watch. But to me, from a running back standpoint, Barry Sanders he's the GOAT. Like, he may not have the numbers, but that guy ran behind an offensive line that was nowhere near as talented as say, an Emmitt Smith in Dallas, and he broke ankles every Sunday. So that would cover football. And then, Jordan, Bird, I was a huge Dominique fan. The Hawks could never get over the hump. But and I liked watching the Showtime Lakers too, man. But my dad was a huge Celtics fan, so we pulled for the Celtics when they weren't playing the Hawks. And then as far as baseball is concerned, it was Braves and Cubs that were constantly on the television. So I loved Andre Dawson. Got to meet him a few years ago at I happened to be in Chicago, and we were driving in the suburbs, and it said, "Meet Andre Dawson from 11 to 2 at this little credit union." And we walked in and got to meet Andre Dawson. He was the man. So.
The Hawk.
Yeah, the Hawk.
That's epic. And, of course, back in the day, you had WGN, so you could watch, the Cubs games on television and everything. So I know a lot of people, in other areas were fans of the Cubs during that time.
Yeah.
But for me, I'd have to say baseball. 3 guys stand out. Dale Murphy, had the opportunity as a kid to meet him when he come around with the Braves caravan. And not only was he a great baseball player, he's just a good human being and somebody that you could look up to. Kevin Mitchell, who played for the San Francisco Giants. Everybody remembers from a time period the barehanded catch that he made. That was so epic. I used to have a flip book of that looked like an umpire's brush. It was pretty neat. Then Nolan Ryan, as far as pitchers are concerned, I always kind of like the hard-throwing power pitchers or whatever. Basketball, Michael Jordan, Dominique. Spud Webb, always admired him quite a bit. And let's see, football-wise, when I was a kid, probably 6, 7 years old, I used to tell people I was Herschel Walker. And because I just, when I was a kid, my dad got me his autograph picture and everything, and I was a Herschel Walker fan. So I guess those are mine.
I'm going to put you all on the spot. Were there any athletes you rooted against?
Coach?
Any teams or athletes?
You just, in sports, I think you always got to pull against the Yankees,
Yeah.
the Dodgers, those guys, they can... Not big of a fan.
Yeah.
How about the Phillies?
Oh, yeah, not a Phillies fan.
Of course, they took Dale Murphy from us, so that hurt my feelings quite a bit as a kid.
Yeah, I can't root for the Mets either.
Yeah,
though I
absolutely.
did like those Darryl Strawberry and Doc Gooden. Those teams were fun to watch.
No doubt about it. Well, that's going to wrap up our Getting to Know Coach segment of the week. We're going to take another break, and when we get done, the rest of the show, we're going to talk about the upcoming matchup. Region play starts this week. It's hard to believe it that we're at that point of the season, but we are, and it's about time for the rubber to meet the road coming up this week. So we'll take a break. We're glad you're with us. This is the Coach Grove Show. We'll return.
Shop for your next car, truck, or SUV at Riverside Auto Group. Check out riversideautogroup.com today to browse their selection or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet Buick GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, and the all-new Riverside Buick GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group. Visit riversideautogroup.com.
All All right, folks, we welcome you back to the Coach Grove Show here on the WLAQ YouTube channel and also Facebook Live feed. And, Coach, in this segment, we're going to talk about Dade County coming up, get to start region play, as we referenced earlier, at home at Chris Hunter Stadium. And so after 4 games in non-region schedule, getting region play started. And we already talked a little bit about how the energy level and excitement level has been in practice this week. But let's talk a little bit about Dade County. Of course, Coach Poston came in a few years ago. Dade County kind of been struggling for several years. In the last couple of seasons, they've posted winning records, made it to the playoffs. So this is a team that's really been headed in the right direction over the last few years. So first of all, just tell us your initial thoughts about this team.
Well, when you watch Dade County on film, the first thing you'll see is they're a physical football team, and they're kind of a chippy football team, so they like to play physical brand of football. They're coached really well. And of course, they're very similar to us. They've got, some guys that play both ways, quite a few guys that play both ways. And so I think it's going to be a good matchup in that aspect. And so I think it's going to be a good physical, hard-nosed football game.
Yeah, Coach, you talk about the numbers, and you've played some bigger schools, and whether it was in scrimmage or last week against Northwest Whitfield. But now that you're in region play and you've got kind of an even playing field when it comes to roster size, how do you feel that conditioning and everything else that you've instilled in your team is going to benefit you going into region play?
Well, it's definitely not going to hurt. We're going to be in a good position. I feel like our kids are ready to play 48 minutes and play very hard because we've been tested and we've done that. So, week 5, this ought to be getting easier to play harder for longer. And so I expect our Tigers to come out and do that.
Now, I know when you look at the record for Dade County this year, they're 1-3 start, but then you look under the hood, they played some really tough teams. And so this is a team that will be pretty seasoned coming into the matchup. Obviously, they got to take the show on the road, so to speak, play at Chris Hunter Stadium. I know the fans are going to be into it loud and all that kind of stuff. But tell us a little bit about this team and some of the strengths that you see when you're watching them on film.
Well, we've already talked about they're a physical, chippy football team. They're very well coached. They know what they're doing. They got a good scheme, offense and defensive wise, and they give you multiple looks on offense that can possibly give you some trouble if you don't communicate and talk and get lined up correctly. So
are there any players specifically on their team that you're going to be watching out for?
Yeah, so on offense, what you're going to get out of Dade, and one of the things that makes them a little more difficult to defend than others is, they basically have 5 skilled guys out there at all times. Now, they'll go from everything from empty formations and quads, empty formations, shotgun formations, to 2 tight ends with the same personnel group. And so you've got to have built in some things on defense to be able to handle those types of things. Normally people are going to go 2 tight ends, they'll sub them in, and then you can make your calls accordingly. But they do everything with the same personnel groupings, which makes it a little unique and a little bit different on how we approach the game plan.
As far as defense is concerned, how do they line up on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, they're going to be 4-3 on defense, and they're going to play cover 2 behind it in the secondary, and they're going to bring single dogs, blitzing linebackers, and sometimes they'll bring even a 6-man pressure and play zone behind it. But they're just very sound and fundamental. They know exactly what they're doing. They know what their coach has coached them to do. And so, some guys that'll stand out that y'all get to see is the defensive end, number 56, Eli Kimball, who also plays offensive tackle. He's 6'4", senior, 6'4", 215. D tackle, number 61, Connor Cash, is a junior, 5'11", 270. Their will linebacker, which is also their starting running back, is Landon Williams, and he's a state championship wrestler. He's 6'2", 205, and he's a good player on both sides of the ball. Then you got cornerback number 9, and also their best receiver, Braylon Sullivan, who's 6'3", 190, receiver and cornerback. So the little number 27, Jax Gwynn, he's 5'9", 205. He's kind of their guy that they use him at tight end. They use him at fullback. They even split him out and let him play wide out. So he's kind of their adjuster guy. They move around and do a lot of different things with. So it'll be we're going to have to be great at formation recognition.
And you've touched on some of these things already, but as far as getting into region play, obviously everybody wants to get started off on the good foot, pick up a victory. So what are the things that the Darlington Tigers have to take care of and do at a high level in order to come away with a victory to start region play this week, Coach?
Well, 3 things I always tell them. I said, 1, we're going to win the hitting game. We got to be more physical than them. That means you got to play lower, you got to play harder, you got to play better technique. The second thing is we got to take care of the football. Can't turn it over. We've got to win the turnover battle, and ball security and taking care of the football is a premium at our practice, and it's a huge point of emphasis. And then the third is we want to win we want to win and make big plays on special teams. And so we think we got, if we can do what we do, we got some advantages there. And so, win the hitting game, take care of the football, make big plays on special teams, and I think the Darlington Tigers will win this one.
And Coach, you seemed to stay pretty healthy last week. Are there any Tigers we can expect to see back this week?
All right, so you're going to get Jack Chandler's going to be back. He's been a 3-year starter at Darlington, and so he'll be back at center and play a little bit of D-line. But having him back this week is going to be huge. We need more depth there, and that's going to be huge getting him back.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much all the time that we have for today, but this has been another fun edition of the Coach Grove Show here on the WLAQ YouTube channel and Facebook Live. And also, as we always say, Coach, we really appreciate you giving us some time. I know you shoot over to the radio station after practice, sometimes on 2 wheels and trying to scarf down some dinner as you were tonight and that kind of thing. And I know the fans really appreciate you being here and giving the listeners and everything what's going on with the Tigers. So thank you so much, man. We appreciate you.
Well, I thank you guys for your time. You guys do a great job, and thank you for supporting the Darlington Tigers. It's a pleasure, no doubt about it. Anything else as we get ready to wrap up?
I just want to volunteer Matt to do push-ups, so score a lot of points.
Oh, gosh. I will have to decline. We might have to work on that a little bit. We didn't discuss this before we started the show, I'll say that.
Yeah, we'll trade it off.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. We got to think of something else. All right. Well, anyway, thank you all for watching today and viewing and everything. We appreciate you tuning in. This has been the Coach Grove Show, and we'll end it like we do every week, man. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
All right, that's going to wrap up this edition of the Coach Grove Show here on WLAQ. Hope you have a great week, everybody. Make sure to get to Chris Hunter Stadium and watch the Tigers open up region play against Dade County. It's going to be a great atmosphere. It's going to be awesome. You definitely want to be there. All right, folks, tune in next week for the Coach Grove Show. That's going to wrap it up for today.
Shop for your next car, truck, or SUV at Riverside Auto Group. Check out riversideautogroup.com today to browse their selection or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet Buick GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, and the all-new Riverside Buick GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group. Visit riversideautogroup.com. Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of the Coach Groves Show. We invite you to join us again next week as we discuss all things Darlington football with head coach Wayne Groves. Go Tigers!
Well, hello, and welcome in, everybody. It is time for Darlington Tigers football right here on WLAQ and also the live stream. We're glad to have you with us. And, man, I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed seeing that drone footage that we just saw from Austin Wiggins and Highlight Media. If you're watching on the video coverage today, that's a pretty neat addition for the game today.
Absolutely. Always stepping up their game on the stream. So, that's a really nice add-on to the broadcast.
Well, folks, we're super glad that you're with us tonight, and let me tell you, we've had a lot of fun so far throughout the non-region schedule, but it's where the rubber meets the road now, Ian. It is time to get the region games underway. These are the games that count towards the playoffs, and so this is where you get into that second part of the season. It's super exciting. You can really feel the intensity in the air already.
Yeah, absolutely, and these are teams you're familiar with. Not that doesn't happen in non-region play. We know that Christian Heritage has become a rival for these Tigers. Every year they seem to clash early in the season. But, we've talked about it a lot, Matt. The non-region schedule, while every team wants to have a goose egg in the loss column, it's about building your team for this, to be ready for region play.
Well, you just got a compliment, by the way, Ian. I just got a text message from Steve Conrad, and he was watching the Coach Grove show, and he said, that was so nice of Ian to suggest you do push-ups when Darlington scores. With friends like that, get the chin straps buckled. Go Tigers.
I'm just trying to help. I mean, Matt said he wanted to get back in the gym. He was talking to me about it the other day. You know, what better way to kickstart that activity than Darlington hanging 50 and you going out there and doing some push-ups, right?
If I were to go do that, there's a pretty good chance that I would not be able to get back into the booth to finish the broadcast. So we'll have to figure out a strategy that works for that situation a little bit. Some planning would need to go into that, and probably signing a waiver with the school, and probably having some medical experts on hand just in case something goes awry.
They're already here. They're already here. They're ready. They're ready to take care of you.
That's a good point. Yeah. Well, the Darlington Tigers getting ready to lock horns with the Dade County Wolverines. Darlington 2-2 in non-region play. Meanwhile, Dade County 1-3. That's a little bit deceptive, though, Ian, because when you run down the schedule that Dade County had there in the non-region, they played the defending state champs, Bowden Red Devils. They also played a Marion County team that has had a good season so far, Athens Academy. So they played some really good teams during that schedule. So I do think that could be a little bit misleading.
Didn't just play them. They were right there neck and neck with Bowden at halftime. So they hung with the defending state champions last week. So, yeah, this is a Dade County team that we got to see last year. And when you look at the roster, you've got a lot of upperclassmen on this roster. And we know they had some playmakers last year. They played Darlington tough up there in Trenton. And they're going to come here to Chris Hunter Stadium ready to scrap.
Well, Ian, it looks like we're ready for the prayer and the national anthem. So we're going to go ahead and take a break down the line. Let's step out for 3 minutes here on our pregame show, 3 minutes. We'll be back from Darlington School. Darlington and Dade County Wolverines coming up in just a little bit.
Shop for your next car, truck, or SUV at Riverside Auto Group. Check out riversideautogroup.com today to browse their selection, or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet Buick GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, and the all-new Riverside Buick GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Wellborn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group. Visit riversideautogroup.com.
Here, I'm becoming who I want to be.
Here, I am looking toward my future.
Here, we learn from our failures so that we may soon succeed.
Here, we're passionate about learning and trying new things every day.
Here, we search for new perspectives and cultures so we can better understand the world.
Because at Darlington, we know we're in the most trusted hands.
As we discover new passions and learn more about ourselves through academics,
athletics,
fine arts,
and service to our community, we show our versatility as we choose different pathways to our goals.
This is our home.
We embrace challenges and persevere, even when something seems impossible.
We collaborate and create to take our place in the world.
We know that together we can make an impact.
This is our moment, our time.
Graduates today, Darlington forever.
My name is Ryan Somerville. I am the sales manager for Business Water Solutions. We do water purification coolers as well as ice machines for any size business. We're on campus right now at Darlington School. Super happy to be here. They're one of our biggest customers. I myself played sports here. Our two founders played sports here. It was absolutely our pleasure to be a sponsor for Darlington Athletics. I think one thing that really sets us apart is our water purification. There's 13 stages. The reverse osmosis part of it has been a huge part of our success, along with our 24-hour guarantee for service calls. So when a customer does call us, we're guaranteed within 24 hours. We were able to provide a touchless water system to make it more COVID-friendly in terms of germs and touching the water system. One thing I always say is we're not selling a product, we're selling our service. That's what we really push for every single day, is to have a customer service experience like they've never had before.
Welcome back to Chris Hunter Stadium, where we are about 10 minutes away from kickoff of the first region game of the year. The Darlington Tigers getting ready to go head-to-head with the Dade County Wolverines. Super exciting. We'll talk a little series history. Darlington leads this one 16-1. The only loss in the series was back in 1991, so it's been a long time since the Dade County Wolverines have gotten the best of the Darlington Tigers. Last meeting was in 2023. Ian, we went on the road over to the home of the Wolverines at Dade County, and Darlington won that game 33-7 over at Dade, so they're hoping to have similar success here today. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely, and focused on starting off region play with a bang here at home. Glad to be back at home, too. With the bye week, it's been almost a month since the Tigers have played in front of the Purple and White Faithful.
It really has been. You had 2 road games up in the Dalton area, went to Christian Heritage, a successful road trip, 35-0. Tigers won there, had the bye week in between, then last week went up to Northwest Whitfield, where the Tigers came up short, but against a really good 4A team that'll probably be a playoff team at the end of the year, 21-17. You pointed out in the Coach Grove show, when we were talking on our pick show rather earlier today, that coaches don't really talk about moral victories and things of that nature, but you really did see a lot of positives in that game and a lot of things pointing to this team getting better every single week and positioned to have a really good region record.
Yeah, the things that stood out to me last week that you'll want to see continue if you're the coaching staff, the tackling in space was excellent last week. They did a good job against a pretty high-powered passing offense of keeping the offense in front of him and making the plays in space. Noah Duggan had an unbelievable week. He's the team's leading tackler. He's all over the field from that Sam linebacker spot. So they're going to want to continue to do that, limit those explosive plays that Coach Groves is always talking about. And then, I think we're going to see them execute well on defense. So they're going to need to, because Dade's got some athletes. They can move the ball.
Oh, absolutely they can. And, of course, we talked to Coach Groves in his show earlier today about the keys to the game. He mentioned 3 things: be more physical, take care of the football, make big plays on special teams, as we've pointed out a lot throughout the week. And he felt like if they could do those things, they'd be very successful here tonight. So we'll see what happens. It's these teams are really going to get after it tonight. Obviously, as we talked about, moving from that non-region schedule to region play, obviously you want to win every game, but as you go to that next phase of the season, there's no doubt there's a lot more at stake, and both teams know that. So they're going to they're going to be giving their best effort tonight, no question about it.
Yeah, I think we'll see both teams come out swinging, wanting to win this ball game and set the tone for their potential run at the playoffs. But I think we're seeing this Tigers team get better and better each and every week, and I expect them to take another step forward tonight.
Well, going to give you a little bit of programming note, then we'll go to our next break. Of course, we've got the game coming up for you here in about 7 minutes. Then after tonight's action, we'll have the Honeymoon Bakery icing on the cake player of the game. Last week, that was Demarion Floyd, had a touchdown run, played great on defense, and he's one of those guys. And he also got one of the Black Shirt Awards this week as well. So he's one of those guys that contributes in a lot of meaningful ways every single week, whether it's during the game or in practice and things of that sort.
Yeah, absolutely. And Coach was really he was pleased that we picked him as the Honeymoon Bakery icing on the cake player of the game, because he got that black shirt for how he practiced leading up to that game last week. And Coach preaches that if you practice, if you can excel in practice, it's going to carry over the game. It did that for D-Man last week.
That's right. You always hear coaches say that games are won or lost in practice throughout the week, and how you prepare and get ready for these games, and then you just get out there and do what you've been practicing all week long. Well, the captains are about to make their way onto the field, so we're going to go ahead and take another break. This will probably be our last break before we have kickoff. So let's step out for 4 minutes down the line, 4-minute break. We're glad to have you with us. Darlington Tigers and Dade County Wolverines coming up in just a few minutes. We'll be back in 4. All right, folks, we get you right back in time for the toss. It looks like the Dade County Wolverines won the toss. They deferred to the second half, so we're going to see the Tigers offense try to set the tone in this game, Ian.
Yeah, and, we've watched in the last few games, they've won the toss and deferred. That seems to be the move to try to steal that extra possession, but it'll be the Tigers offense that comes out. Sammy Konchesky has been growing as a quarterback week by week. All these playmakers are going to get out there, see if they can go get some points and get this game started on the right foot.
Well, let's give credit to the captains for tonight. We'll start with Dade County, the visiting Wolverines. Caleb Massey, number 4. Also number 9, Braylon Sullivan. Number 56, that's Eli Kimball. And then number 20, Landon Williams. There's the captains for tonight for Dade County Wolverines. Now for your Darlington Tigers, we'll start with number 50. That is McKay Rush. Still hadn't seen him in live action as far as regular season game this year, but I do think we'll see him here in the next few weeks from what I understand.
Yeah, the boot's off. He's going to be back soon, and that'll be great for the Tigers.
Oh, that'll be a good gain for them, no doubt about it. Number 54, Jack Chandler, who's going to be back in the lineup tonight, which is a good thing.
That's huge.
Number 1, Talon Shirey, and then number 6, Demarion Floyd, who we already mentioned was our Honeymoon Bakery icing on the cake player of the game last week. So,
indeed, and we've got a new flag over here in the Tiger. You got the American flag, but you also got the skull and crossbones.
Oh.
Because pirates are cool.
That's right. And Mike Leach loved pirates, and he was a national treasure, and it was also cool. So I like the selection of that for sure, and it looks mean.
It does.
You know?
It does. I believe the black shirts that they wear have a skull and crossbones, right? Didn't Coach
That's
Groves
right,
say that? Yeah. Because pirates are cool.
That's right.
Right.
Well, both teams have made their grand entrance, and we are just about ready to have some football for you right here on WLAQ and also the live video stream. While we got a couple of moments, let's recognize everybody involved in the broadcast. Of course, as far as the video is concerned, Noah Travis and Zane Nicholson on the press box cams. Director is Mike Garrett. Replay tonight, Nathan Patterson. Graphics and stats, you've got Uda Patterson and also Scott Brownlow. The drone pilot tonight, we referenced earlier, Austin Wiggins of Hindsight Media. We got Lynn Butler back at Studio Control Central over at WLAQ, and I'm Matt Davis alongside Ian Griffin to bring you the play-by-play coverage. Did we get everybody in there?
I think we did.
We'll make sure we don't leave anybody out. Of course, at the end of tonight's action this evening, after the game is over, you can stay tuned to WLAQ and get the Rome Orthopedic Center High School Football Scoreboard Show with Lynn and Austin Butler. There, we've covered everybody now.
All right.
All right, folks, the Tigers are going to have a man back deep and a dangerous one. Talon Shirey here to try to return this kickoff. And to kick it off here for the Dade County Wolverines, it's almost go time. It's going to be Carter Bradley, one of their 3 kickers that they have on their roster. So Bradley about to put the boot on the ball, and we'll get things underway with the first region game, toe meets leather. And, of course, they're going to kick it away from Talon Shirey. It ends up in the hands of Hendricks Jones. He comes up towards the middle of the field, and they wrap him up and bring him down at about the 30-yard line.
Yeah, not a bad spot to start your first drive for the Darlington Tigers. That ball had some interesting spin on it. Uh-oh, we've got a man down, and that is the return man, Hendricks Jones, who also handles the place kicking.
So Donnie Brown, the longtime trainer for the Darlington Tigers, comes out on the opening kickoff of the game to have a look at Hendricks Jones, who just returned that kick, and he's kind of grabbing at his right leg, it looks like.
Yeah, around that knee. So he's in good hands out there, and we'll hope that everything is okay.
So we're just underway, 5 seconds into the game. Had the opening kickoff, and the player goes down after a nice return that got the Tigers out to the 30-yard line. And again, right now you've got Dade Brown who's down there working, and now it looks like they're kind of working towards his ankle.
Yeah. And Matt, Hendricks Jones is one of those glue guys on this team. We've watched him for several years now. He's played just about every position you can. He's gotten reps at quarterback. Again, we said he's handling the kicking. And that's going to open a door for someone. If he's unable to come back, we'll have to see somebody step into that role.
He's not putting a lot of weight on that right leg. They have to kind of help him off the field, but we'll see if they can get it worked out. But the Tigers are going to come back to the line of scrimmage, and we will get this thing in the first drive of the game underway. Tigers, again, going to have good field position starting at their own 30. Sammy Konchesky lines up with Demarion Floyd in the backfield, trips to the far side. There's the snap, going to pitch it, a sweep out to the right side. Demarion Floyd trying to get him in space, and he's going to be tripped up after a short gain.
And just a little option play there. Konchesky ended up pitching it to him around the 15, and D-Man tried to get out of the edge. A really good tackle in space by one of those captains, Braylon Sullivan, there for the Wolverines.
So the Tigers go back to the drawing board now, 2nd down and 8 from their own 32. We're 32 seconds into this game, first drive of the ball game. Sammy Konchesky lines him up in the gun. He gets ready to take the snap. Man motions from the near side, or to the near side rather. It's Talon Shirey. He gets out to the edge and stays up. Gets about 4 yards there on that play before they haul him out of bounds. And then Coach Grove saves him from hitting the track by grabbing his jersey.
Yeah, he had a head full of steam. Coming around on the jet sweep was Talon Shirey, one of those playmakers we talked about in the pregame, and really good lateral coverage there by the Wolverines. They're getting sideline to sideline so far. 3rd down for the Tigers.
3 yards to go. Ball is at the 37-yard line. There's the snap. Tigers working from right to left. They give it to Demarion Floyd, and he's brought down after what would be a very short gain, about a yard he got there. So that sets up a 4th and 2. And likely we'll see the Tigers punt here. They may try to draw them off sides first, but we'll see.
Or go with the quarterback. We'll see. The quarterback pooch little kick could be handy here too. Based on the formation, that's what I'm guessing happens.
So Konchesky's still out there. He's got Demarion Floyd in the backfield with him. He looks off to the sidelines, and now they're going to shift some personnel here. See if they can get everybody off the field. They're going to punt the ball away. Yeah?
Absolutely. Right move early in the game, but they did take a shot at the hard count.
Here comes the snap. Kick is on the way. End over end. Takes a Darlington bounce into the hands of the receiver, and he brings it out, and they're going to wrap him up and bring him down at around the 30-yard line. Actually, behind the 30-yard line, but more like the 27.
Yeah, he bounced back there. It looked like he was down at the 30, but 3 and out to start the game for the Tigers. But a good punt from Talon Shirey. Good coverage there by the special teams, and they were able to wrangle the Wolverine return man. I didn't catch the number on. Was that 19?
Yes, Riker Stanley.
Yeah.
All right, so as you mentioned, a 3 and out for the Tigers, and now Dade County will get their first possession starting out with similar field position as the Tigers. They'll be at the 29-yard line, so 1 yard behind where the Tigers were, the Wolverines on their own side of the field. They're going to line up with twin backs, and it looked like somebody came close to jumping on the line of scrimmage for the Tigers.
They had a little movement, but they got back.
Quarterback for them is Bryson Schrader. They snap it to him, hands it off, goes around the left side, and picks up a good chunk of yards. It looks like they'll give him about 6 or 7 yards on the first carry.
Yeah, good push there from his lineman.
More than that. Who was the ball carrier on that?
That was Braylon Sullivan, number 9.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So he picked up 7 yards on that play. There's the snap. It's low on the ground, and it's going to be picked up by number 20, Landon Williams, and they're going to lose a good chunk of yards on that play.
That was disastrous. Just a low snap. The quarterback didn't even field it. It was the running back that ended up having to scoop it up, and by the time he was able to turn upfield, he was surrounded by angry Tigers, and that's a loss of 8 on the play, I believe, Matt.
I think you're right. Bryson Schrader gets ready to line up now for 3rd down, and they got about 12 to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. 3 wide receivers to the near side, 1 on the far side. Schrader takes the snap. He drops back, looking to throw here on this down. He's got company in the backfield, and they're going to sack him. What a hit. My goodness. Coming up with a sack, number 52 for the Darlington Tigers, Evan Parton. Wow.
And Evan Parton has been making more and more plays each week. But that time, the quarterback, Schrader, dropped back, and as he stepped up and decided to run, it was too late because the Tigers were on him, and Evan Parton able to get the sack. And 2 3-and-outs here. They've traded 3-and-outs, and the Tigers will get the ball back. Should have pretty good field position. And love what I'm seeing here. They got 2 return men back. You got D-Man and Talon Showery. Pick your poison.
My goodness. Don't want to kick to either of those guys. Here comes the kick. That one's going to sail well out of bounds. And at about the 45-yard line, that was off the foot of Carter Bradley. So the Tigers will indeed have amazing field position.
Yeah, we'll see where they spot that. Where did they mark it out? I thought that's pretty generous. I thought that thing went out before the 40-yard line. My goodness.
I was thinking it was going to be around the 45, so it turns out to be the 48, but still.
48-yard line is where the Tigers will start their second possession.
So the Tigers offense already back in on the field. As you mentioned, 2 3-and-outs to start the ball game, 1 for each team. Sammy Konchesky looks to line them up in a shotgun formation, working from right to left. Tigers are in their purple jerseys with white letters and numbers. They've got their white breeches on with gray trim. Here's the snap to Konchesky. He's going to fake the handoff, drops back, he's going to put the ball in the air. Good ball, and it's going to be incomplete. Talon Showery had his hands on it. Was going to make made a great attempt for a catch, but couldn't haul it in. He was fully extending his body for that play.
Great throw by Konchesky there. They go play action. Konchesky put that ball on the money, and Showery just couldn't reel it in. He is a sure-handed receiver. I'd say 9 times out of 10 he'd snag that and waltz into the end zone.
All right, folks. Konchesky lines him up. There's the snap, going to hand it off on a sweep to Demarion Floyd, gets him out into space, and he's going to be wrapped up about a gain of 6 yards on the play. I understand I got to get a little mic adjustment going. We've had the trouble where it hadn't been loud enough the first 4 games, and now I'm clipping when I get excited, so I got to make a couple of little adjustments here and see if we can get that underway.
Excited, Matt. Don't get so excited.
Well, when you test things at the radio station, even with the excitement, everything sounds great, but then when you get into a game situation, I don't know what happens.
3rd and 5 for the Tigers.